Hello everybody. Today I'm gonna read Love Me," a Prime movie original by Stephanie Nia S. Love Me" is now a Prime movie. Big news for romance lover everywhere. Love Me," the Wattpad story readers couldn't stop talking about has officially made its way to Prime Video. Born right here on Wattpad, this messy, addictive romance captures readers with this almost red flag hero, complicated feelings, and can't look away tensions. Now you can watch that story unfold on screen, then dive back into the original for every moment that made it possible to put down. If you're into emotional chaos, unforgettable leads, and romances that don't play it safe, this one's for you. Chapter 1, June. June, quit biting your nails. Your classmates will think you're nervous. Grasping that steering wheel a little too tightly between her fingers, Mom narrowed her eyes and glared at me. Spoiler alert, Mom. I took a deep breath. I'm nervous. I surrendered into the passenger seat, but Mom showed no signs of letting up. She hounded me with even more questions as if the first day of school wasn't already stressful enough. Are you sure you slept well last night, honey? You could stand to put on a bit of concealer to hide the bags under your eyes. Concealer? Yeah, right. Wearing makeup to school would trigger the blowout of the century. Mom, I can't win with you. I'm. I stopped myself. Curse words were strictly forbidden in the White Lebowski house. Ugh, forget it. I let out a deep sigh and looked out the window at the Laguna Beach neighborhoods that we passed by. They all looked the same to me. Neat, orderly rows of small, freshly plastered houses covered by red Spanish style roofs with perfectly arranged shingles and meticulously manicured gardens. My new life seemed perfect on the outside, but realistically, it was anything but. It was like a book with a cheerful looking cover hiding a tragic stories in its pages. Private school, a two-story house, and sunny 70 degrees Fahrenheit weather year round. Those were the exact words my mom used when she announced that she was subjecting me to another move. We lived in Seattle the year before, where it was cold and rainy for most of the year. She did everything she could to make it sound convincing, especially after living in such a gloomy city for more than 5 months. I hadn't lived there long enough to get used to the weather and buy the right clothes when she told me it was time to go. She knew I wouldn't have agreed to move states twice in 1 year, so she phrased this move as the best opportunity that she'd ever been offered. Ask someone if you don't know where Ask someone if you don't know which classroom to go to. Don't be shy around your new classmates. I know you're not shy. Would it kill her not to bombard me with unsolicited advice? Wasn't changing schools for the millionth time depressing enough? I glanced at her and I let myself be fooled for a few seconds by her low, messy bun that gave her the typical rebellious artist vibe. My parents divorced 3 years earlier. Somehow, it had never occurred to me to ask myself if I would be better off staying with my dad in Virginia. At least he wouldn't have turned my entire adolescence upside down by uprooting me from one part of the country to the other. Mom and I had moved to four different states, and I changed school three times already. From here, who knows? Type A career artist April Lebowski was on a mission to travel all over creation to exhibit her lame artwork. The only people who even liked her stuff were old people, even though she never admitted. I'd never seen anyone younger than 17 at any of her exhibitions. Could, could that really be a coincidence? Fix your color, honey. And why are you sitting like a man? You wrinkle your shirt, she coded. And since when do men and women sit differently? Patience wasn't exactly my mom's strong suit, and I took advantage of every opportunity I could to make her lose it. June, don't start with me. You know what I mean. I surreptitiously looked over my ungroomed leg, which only made me crankier. No, Mom, I don't. And you know what else I don't get? Why you don't sign me up for public school like you always do? I can't stand this awful uniform. I let out a heavy sigh, blowing a lock of hair away from my nose. It's just a uniform, Yoon. It even looks good on you. Mom, it's not just a uniform. Its whole purpose is in its name to make us all be uniform, th- the same. I always left the house in a hoodie and in shorts. I always hated being constructed by fancy blouses. For that matter, I always avoided skirt like the plague. Why can I wear pants like the guys do? Quick whining, I already told you I made a mint of my last exhibition. St. Mary's is the best school in LA. You're going, and that's final. How exciting! I could just not study while you pay an arm and a leg for the diploma you're buying me. My mom's face suddenly looked crestfallen. You sound just like your father when you act like that, she laminated with a slight tone of concern in her voice. So long as I can actually graduate from this school, but you'll probably make me transfer again in 2 months anyway. I was being particularly difficult that morning, but it was for a good reason. This was the millionth first day. I already switched school and learned the ropes of each of them so many times. By the time I felt like I was getting the hang of things and figuring out who and what to avoid, etc., like clockwork, it was time to move and start all over again. Don't keep your nails that short, June. It's unladylike. I rolled my eyes toward the car ceiling. And are ladies also blessed with kindness and understanding in your universe of medieval stereotypes? Because you're not exactly ladylike all the time by those stands, are you? June Madeline White. She pronounced every syllable sternly. I knew I'd gone too far. I shot her a quick later and jumped out of the car as we arrived. She yelled out something I couldn't understand, but I wasn't paying attention. I looked up at the school and barely stopped myself from flinching. Neat rows of red shingles lined the top of the ornate Victorian style building. Every inch of school facade was festooned with intricate decorative carvings. I felt 2 inches high in front of the towering building. Its stately walls overlook an expansive front yard. Inlaid gray bricks in front of the building create an and elegant color contrasts. Was this really my new school? I turned around to see how my mom reacted. She was peering out through the rolled down window. Do you think, do you trick me into going to a convenient, into a convent? Mom smirked, Mom smirked, go on, get inside. I'll see you at the school. I reluctantly took my first few steps toward the entrance, as if each step brought me one step closer to the point of no return. As I walked through the towering iron and bronze gate, my eyes were drawn to the sea of clones around me. Everyone was dressed exactly the same, perfectly tailored jackets, white blouses, and blue skirts for the girls, cream dress skirts, and dark slacks for the boys. Welcome to the Carnival of Conformity, June. The students all walked confidently with their heads held high, taking perfect, decisive steps. Everyone seemed so sure of themselves that wonder if they were even human. The girls looked like cookie cutter models. Their statuesque body moved lithely with effortless elegance. Their feminine faces were framed by long, dazzling, shiny hair with perfectly winged cat eyes that emphasized their eyes and dainty noses that were accentuated by subtle, well proportioned contouring. The guys, too, were completely different from the ones I was used to. None of them wore oversized hoodies or wrinkled jeans. They all looked like they just stepped off the runway. People wore pajamas to school in Seattle. In every other school that I gone to, none of them would ever think about wearing 4-inch heels. It looked like they were all about to enter a beauty contest, but the haughty glances from a few small groups of students hanging out the stairs surprised me the most. Mom was right. I wasn't shy, but that didn't prevent me from feeling really uncomfortable. I picked up my pace in the hopes of making it to the front door unscathed. A nagging thought became louder in my mind. I had absolutely nothing in common with these people. Let me guess, you're new and you're lost. The gloomy voice caught me so off guard that I jumped before turning around. I belonged to a tall, dark haired guy behind me. Was he talking to me? I'm not lost. I just got here. I corrected him, almost annoyed with his assumption. First day in hell, huh? He said, this in a jokingly sarcastic tone, but he wasn't smiling. His lips remained straight, which gave him an apathetic facial expression. My eyes were drawn to his emerald eyes surrounded by long black eyelashes. His jet black hair was pulled back in a neat, orderly fashion. I nodded, but I was soon distracted by a slim figure running toward us. A shock of raven hair bolted toward us. Locks of straight hair were braided into thin pigtails that swung back and forth across her studded earlobes. Her face had the same cat-like features as the dark-haired guy in front of me. What's going on? She said. Fresh meat, he said in a monotone, almost listless voice. The girl smiled and introduced herself. I'm Amelia Hood. The guy who's messing with you is my brother Brian. I studied both of them and realized that not only were they extraordinarily beautiful, they had the same sharp, elegant features. Not at all. I'm June White. Nice to meet you. Amelia gave me the same puzzled look that everyone does when I say my name. Grandma March named my mom April, and she thought it was a brilliant idea to continue this family tradition by naming me after another month, so June. So yeah, so June. Their intense stares made me feel out of place. They probably weren't used to being around somebody so generic looking like me, with my cracked lips, straw colored hair with fizzy eyes, and dark bangs under my eyes. And it's still cute. I heard her mutter under her breath. Brian gazed at me intensely. Yeah, very. I, fur- I furrowed my brow. Even though their words sounded encouraging, I didn't have a good feeling about them. I, w- I was just about to say goodbye when Amelia grabbed my forearm and linked her arm with mine, with confidence that I wasn't expecting. You a freshman, June? She asked as the three of us walked toward the school entrance. Senior, I answered quickly, irked by what she suggested. Then again, how could I blame her for asking? I barely came up to her shoulders. So, so are we. Which classes do you have today? Are you guys twins? I asked, not bothered to hide My curiosity. Brian's a year older than me, but he got into some trouble last year. Amelia, her brother harshly interrupted, shooting her an icy glare to shut her up. I have English first, I interjected to diffuse the tension. Lucky you, I have science. It's so lame, Amelia groaned. Oh, God. Brian looked at me indifferently. I have English too. If you want, I'll show you where the classroom is, he offered. I was just about to accept his offer when I felt Amelia's nails dig into my arm. I shot her a look, but she was too distracted to pay attention. It was almost like she and every other student swarming the hallway had just fallen under some kind of spell. Something or someone caught everyone's attention. Oh fuck, he's back. I heard murmurs between her fingers covering her mouth. Who's back? I inquired as I craned my neck to see what's going on. Hunter, she said slowly. She said his name so gravely that it sent chills down my spine. Who's that? I peered, unsure of whether I should laugh or be afraid. Nobody. Stay away from James Hunter. Brian narrowed his eyes that made me shiver. Shall we get to class? He suggested in an attempt to redirect my attention. I shrugged. Okay. But I couldn't move. I stood in the hallway and listened to the increasingly fervent murmurs from the crowd. James Hunter's back. It echoes across the hall as if everyone was chanting it. Further remarks peppered the chatter. Did he go to the gym? Is it me or he is even more bangable than before? I felt my cheek turns. I felt my cheek. I felt my cheeks turn bright red. Juvie must have been a good for him. Another commented. Annoyed by all the swooning, I followed Brian. Besides, I had no intentions of getting lost on the first day of school, so I waved goodbye to Amelia and tagged along with her brother. We walked in the opposite direction down in a hall full of students. At some point, my curiosity got the best of me, and I turned around. Standing on my tippy toes, I tried to identify the individual who captivated the entire student body. A guy walked down the steps of a giant staircase flanked by a group of friends at the end of the hallway. His imposing statue stood out from the crowd. Maybe it was because, unlike the others, he didn't wear the uniform jacket, or maybe it was because his perfectly tailored dress shirt fit him like a glove, accentuating his broad, muscular shoulders. His loose necktie hung on his sculpted chest, making him look effortlessly disheveled. But what stood out the most to me was how he strutted down hall. He sauntered like a lion returning to his pride. I was astounded by how rapt the girls were as they waited for him to acknowledge them with his dazzling blue eyes. Obviously, he passed by all of them with a small, cocky smile on his mouth. It hit me that I just watched a documentary on peacocks yesterday. What a coincidence! James Hunter swaggered past the throng of students, followed by three large men with broad shoulders who I didn't dare look at twice. The closer they got, the more I averted my eyes from their magnetic presence. Suddenly, I managed to get a better look at his face. His hair was a tousled mass of chestnut lock flecked with ashtray blonde streaks. Lazily, he ran his finger through his hair. They were adorned with rings that caught in his unruly hair. Unruly hair. When it fell down, it framing a well-proportioned, sculpted face with a pair of full lips. I followed his strong jawline with my eyes. He absent-mindedly looked around the hallways of his classmates, ogling him admiring. The air escaped my lungs as he hovered forward. My heart started racing. I, I was almost tempted to lower my head just as his silhouette passed me. But instead, I froze and stared into his dazzling cobalt blue eyes, which were as dark as nightfall. Our eyes locked for a fraction of a second. I felt a rush of adrenaline pulse under my skin and course through my veins. So this was James Hunter. Number two, Brian. Hey guys, now I'm gonna read chapter two, Brian. I was always a loner, someone who only looked out for number one. But it was impossible to ignore her enchanting eyes. June exuded a curious gaze under her long blonde hair and rosy cheeks, that lit up every time I looked at her for even a moment too long. After watching that moron Jane Hunter saunter into school, she finally decided to follow me. We walked into the classroom together. Ju- June took a few seconds to look around. It wasn't the ample windows that lit the room that made her ocean blue light up, but the modular desk and new mint green seats. I saw her look down as if she was searching for flaws in the pristine desk that the principal replaced every year. Incredible, not even a scratch, she exclaimed dumbfoundedly. The desks were polished us the desks were polished us not so much. Don't be fool. It's all for show, I said before waving at my football teammates. I ignored the stare of a few girls who batted their eyelashes at me. My heart was taken and I only had eyes for my girlfriend Ari. I sat at the empty desk and looked for her. I thought she was absent because Aria was always one of the first ones to class, especially when it came to literature. Our English teacher was the subject of every girl in school's affection. He was about 40ish, with boyish good looks and physique. Maybe it was because of his tattoos or his rebelliously curly hair. Even Ari and my sister weren't immune from his charms. Did he make me jealous? A little, but he was still a teacher, and therefore the least of my concerns. If I had to be worried about him, too, I wouldn't have made it out alive. Amelia and Ari were the most popular girls in school. Now that Thug was back from UV, the only thing that gave me hope was that he would stay away from us. June looked small behind me. She seemed to be have every intention of hiding from her classmates. Stairs, but no new student is ever invisible here. There you are, as I pointed at the double desk in the middle of the class. Behind me, I heard a round of whispers asking, "Who is she?" interspersed with giggles. Is she in the right class? She looks like a freshman. I ignored the chatter and sat down. She stood there frozen, unsure of what to do. All the seats were taken. Why is everyone staring at me? She muttered under her breath, before taking a few steps forwards and turning a few guys ahead. She was shorter than Amelia. Her statue reminded me of Ari, but with a completely different physique. I didn't compare them on purpose, but I instinctively caught a glimpse of her curves. In, in her tight-fitting uniform, her thighs peeked out from under her pleated skirt while her blouse showcased her generous curves. I was usually alone. You can sit here if you want, I suggested, motioning to the chair next to me before shooting Stacy and Bonnie a look. Both were staring at me inquisitively. The whole school knew I liked to keep to myself. I didn't trust anyone and I didn't like anyone. But June seemed different from everyone else. Do you have your books? I asked as she rummaged through the textbooks in her hands. None of them seemed to be the right ones. I can't believe it. I brought my physics book instead of my English book. Just stammered unpreparedly. You can share with me. She raised her eyebrows and eagerly nodded. She approached the seat while a few students indis- indiscreetly glanced at her. Class, attention, was quickly directed to the doors. Members ricocheted throughout the classroom. I guess James Hunter and his friend had just set foot in class. June lifted her chin slightly off the book, which was enough to bring James Hunter into focus. A surge of rage coursed through my arms and coalesced into the tightly formed fist that I kept on my seat. Making an eye contact with him was enough to make my jaw automatically clench. James didn't seem to notice. He looked down at me, almost pleased with himself at my reaction. I don't even know what made him so sure of himself. His family was a disaster. His academic career, don't even think about it. His future, he just got out of juvie. No prestigious university in their right mind would ever meet him with open arms. Our glares intersected quickly, like a whip cracking. There was definite Definitely bad blood between us. 3. June. Anyone with eyes could tell that there was bad blood between Brian Hood and James Hunter. I look away from James and thank Brian for offering to share his textbook with me. James sauntered past us with his nose in the air as he looked down cockily at the girl's love-struck expressions. The shed nut lock that fell on his forehead didn't seem to bother him. Instead, he tousled it even more with an instinctive but damaging head-swooping gestures. I sensed Brian rage flare up as soon as he picked up and made eye contact with Hunter, who looked down at him with a stormy glare. He walked past us and took a seat next to us. I suddenly felt a burning sensation from the chair. I felt his sharp gaze penetrate me like open wounds on my skin. I shouldn't have, but my curiosity was eating away at me, and I turned around. James was really staring at me. Still, I felt my stomach turn as I looked into his overpowering gaze. Everything okay? Brian asked in a friendly tone, forcing me to turn back around. Yeah, I responded quickly. My mind wandered. I always complained to my mom about how awful I thought it would be to go to a private school. Now I could tell that she made the right decision. The teachers were cool, nobody was making fun of me. I was sitting next to a hot guy, and typical dickhead Brian, a voice behind me shouted, "Uh oh, I spoken too soon." Jackson, what the fuck are you always talking shit behind my back? Come say it to my face, Brian retorted angrily. A jarring metallic screech echoed through the classroom as Brian cut up from his front seat and glared at Hunters and his friends. Nobody's scared of a guy like you, Hood. I turned around. A tall, heavy-set guy and a guy with a bleached buzz cut were taunting Brian. James didn't even acknowledge him, even though he was sitting right next to him. He was too caught up in making eyes at a blonde who was obsessively fiddling with the ends of her bob cut. Do you want to get hit again, Hood? Say it, and I'll gladly hit you. Those words caught my attention. One of the guys lurched toward Brian, and before I could realize what was going on, the second guy dove in. I'm going to get caught in the middle of this. Calm your damn hormones, guys. Come on, I want to see what you two assholes can do, Brian taunted brazenly. The guy with the buzz cut laughed while the other one narrowed his eyes and clenched his jaws. Just as they were about to face off, James got up and everyone shut up immediately. I want to talk to Stacy. Can you not interrupt me for 10 minutes? His voice was so harsh and authoritative that it made me jump. He turned his fiery gaze toward his friends and then to Brian, who reciprocated his glare. Suddenly, he directed his gaze toward me. His irises darkened, and he stared so intensely that I had to avert my gaze. What about you, Hood? Have you really stooped so low that you're diddling kids now? Do you have any shame? The fact that he had the gall to say that made me turn as white as a sheet. Was that asshole really talking about me? Hi guys, sorry I'm late. A strong British accent took me by surprise, distracting me from that abdominal scene that just ensued. The teacher walked into class and everyone went back to the desk and acted as if World War III wasn't on the verge of erupting 30 seconds earlier. Hi, Mr. Beckett, greeting a few girls in the front row with the swing songy voices. My jaw dropped as I laid my eyes on the teacher. What kind of school was I in? Students were required to cover up with outdated uniforms, while teachers were allowed to show up wearing bright colored Hawaiian shirts, tattoo sleeves, covering his ripped biceps peek out from under his lime green shirt. But my enthusiasm when, as the teacher grabbed a scribbled sheet of paper off the desk and called my name, June White. Everyone turned around and toward me. June White? I raised my hand gingerly. Oh, there you are, June. I like your name. Thanks. Oh my god. Can you tell your classmate a little about yourself? My petrified stare must have given me away. I was too nervous to talk in front of a room full of strangers. Well, I climbed up as a few girls started to giggle. The teacher seemed to pick up on my discomfort and asked me to sit back down. Okay, Jude, maybe another time? I nodded and class started. The bell rang after 2 hours and my stomach started to grow. I was just about to get in line with the rest of the students leaving the classroom when I realized James was towering over me, oblivious to the fact that I just lowered my head. He stared at me. He was much taller up close, and I couldn't help but notice that his shirt reeked of strong cologne that almost made me dizzy. I stood still, clenching my books to my chest, as I was waited for him to go in front of me, but he didn't move. After you, White, his voice took me aback. I walked in front of him silently and picked up my pace to get as far away from him as possible. I don't know what kind of look was on his face then, but I was too afraid to look him in the eye and find out. James, you're such a dick, a woman's voice chided him as I felt his eyes trace the curves of my butt. I couldn't think of a snappy comeback fast enough, and as soon I found myself alone in the hallway surrounded by strangers. There were too many. There were way too many people around, and I had no idea where I was going. I leafed through the paper tucked into my physics textbook and found the modules that the principal gave me along with a key card. My locker number was written on the top. I walked down the hall until I reached the middle door with my number, 6. I tapped the key card in the lock, but the door didn't budge. Then I dragged it across the lock again. But the door still wouldn't open. Finally, I tried swiping from the other direction. Even though the light turned green, the door still refused to open. I curled my fingers under the edge of the door to pry it open. My attempts to force the lock were all in vain. Frustrated, I banged on the door with my fist. The locker let out a metallic boom in reply. A few students turned around and gave me dirty looks, but nobody offered to help. Getting a little violent, are we? A voice inquired. The student looking at me was intrigued. His eyes were as gray as a winter morning in blonde hair frame. His face like in a Jedi halo. Do you want some help or you prefer beating the crap of it a little more? Will you mind helping me, please? I grinned sheepishly as I explained that the locker had refused to open. None of them work. Go like this, grab the handle and tap the key cord as you pull the door towards you. Try it. His tone was extremely calm, as if nothing could upset him. As if by magic the locker opened. Thanks. I waited for him to introduce myself and climb up out of my embarrassment. William, he answered, moving a step toward me. Thank you, William. You're welcome. June. I like it, he said it with ease, as if rescuing damsel in distress on their first day of school. Was something he did all the time. I stared at him, hypnotized by his delicate features, admiring his face for a few seconds too long. He didn't seem to mind. Then he disappeared as quickly as he appeared out of nowhere. This place is really weird. My stomach roared me angrily, and I decided not to waste any more time. It had been only 2 hours since class started, and I already ignored hunger pangs for long enough. I headed toward a vending machine and saw a long line of people in front of it. I went to the back of the line. The atmosphere became agitated as a figure cut to the front of the line. Get in a line like the rest of us, someone yelled. The queen of only carrying about herself else has arrived. A guy wearing a huge Coke bottle glasses chimed in. A blonde girl in a cheerleading outfit narrowed her eyes and glared at him threateningly. Yeah, you're right. I am the queen, so shut up and wait your turn. I suddenly became hyper aware of how my hair looked like a straw-colored rat nests. I almost felt like I was standing in front of an otherworldly goddess. There was no way a human being could have such beautiful, perfect facial features. Her hair stood out to me the most. It was so shiny that it looked like it had been woven from honey. She gracefully flipped her hair back, but her haughty expression fell as I heard a familiar voice. What the fuck is going on here? James Hunter demanded, coming within an inch of the poor soul who dared to stand up to the blonde girl. His glance, I mean, his glare made his victim tremble. What the fuck is going on here? James Hunter demanded, coming within an inch of the poor soul who dared to stand up to the blonde girl. His glare made his victim tremble. What the fuck is the problem here? He demanded again, without any regard to how rude he sounded. No, 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 the boy stammered, terrified. Problems. James' profile was perfect. He looked like a real light Renaissance painting created with delicate brushstroke that accentuated the curve toward the top of his nose, and in a soft chiaroscuro contrast and that highlighted the protruding curves of his pouty lips. That's better. For a second, I thought I heard you say something different. He insinuated as he fiddled with a vape pen. Meanwhile, the girl had just grabbed her fresh coffee from the machine. She stood on her tippy toes to reach James' height. I don't know if they kiss or not. I averted my eyes until I heard her simper. Forget it, Jamie. He put his arm around her shoulder and they walked away like they owned the school. I take it you just witnessed that. I take it you just witnessed what kind of degenerates Hunter and his friends are. Brian and Amelia caught up with me, and I couldn't help but eye the pack of cookies that Amelia was holding with both hands. Why did Hunter go to juvie? I asked, in an attempt to hide the fact that I was about to faint from hunger. Amelia glanced at her brother, who kept saying, Let's just say that what you saw today is just the tip of the iceberg. She answered as she handed me the Oreos. My eyes lit up. My life philosophy was very simple. Whoever shared food was worthy of friendship. Thanks, Amelia. I had the cookie with my fingertips for a moment before popping it in my mouth. What could be worse than what I saw today? I asked naively con- as we headed toward the courtyard. Amelia touched her lips with her index finger as if to check if her lipstick was still on. Do you mean threatening the teacher, drugs, dealing the fights, the streets, drag racing, the multiple incidents of vandalism? It sounds like you know him really well. The only thing more insatiable than my appetite was my insecurity, and the only thing worse than that was that I didn't know how to keep my mouth shut. I didn't mean what I said maliciously, but Brian shot me a look that wasn't that was anything but reassuring. On her end, Amelia seemed to be struggling. No, well, I mean to say that everyone knows him. What did she see in that asshole? June, trust me. If you want to stay out of trouble at this school, forget Hunter. Brian interrupted, visibly exasperated. I didn't say anything. I was too busy eyeing the pack of Oreos until we found a spot on the lawn. All the benches were taken, so we sat on the grass. With a look of pity at my hunger expression, Amelia offered me a cookie. Just as I was about to bite into it, the guy who helped me open my locker caught my eye. William. I watched him sit with his back against a tree trunk poring over a classic novel with a worn-out cover. Who's that? I asked, pointing at him. Brian had just put on his headphones and completely tuned us out. William Cooper. He's one of Hunter's best friends. Amelia answered as she pushed the half-empty packet toward me. I was about to grab the last Oreo, but then I suddenly lost my appetite. You're kidding, I blurted out. They've been best friends since middle school. Amelia stared towards a specific area in the courtyard, just a few feet away from William James sat with his arm around a curly-haired girl and his group of friends. The scene confused me. I'd just seen him in the hallway with that blonde chick in. Before that, I could have sworn that he was flirting with another girl in class. Isn't Hunter with that cheerleader? Are you talking about Taylor Hart? Amelia spread out her name in disgust. That chick at the vending machine? Isn't that his girlfriend? Amelia burst out laughing. Girlfriend? Hunter changes who he's with 4 times a day. I shrugged. It was a real life textbook example of what the documentary said last night. A male peacock mates with 4 or 5 or 6 or, or even 6 females, I muttered. Amelia turned toward me to decipher my absent-minded statement. What do you mean? I'm just saying, I don't understand how someone like that could get that many women. He's so rude. Rude? James Hunter is the undisputed king of assholes. She said this emphatically, but her voice softened almost immediately afterwards. But despite all that, he knows what he is doing. She looked down at my knees. Well, I created a scene where she and James were the main character of a romantic tragedy. He and I had a thing last year, she admitted feebly. But things ended really badly, like really badly. She craned her neck toward Brian, who was still lost in his own world. He wasn't paying any attention to us. After making sure her brother was really listening to music, she kept talking. She inhaled sharply and stopped talking. I let out a soft murmur. I'm sorry. I had no idea what I was talking about, but the Picard theory had been proven. There was no doubt that he'd done something bad. This belief was certainly supported by the fact that Amelia was still suffering while James sat on the other side of the courtyard with his hand halfway up another girl's skirt. Maybe it's better that way. He doesn't seem like his boyfriend material, no offense. You're totally right. It's just that Amelia looked around cautiously. James is really hard to resist. I snickered. Well, based on everything I saw today, he is exactly the type of person who I'd avoided like the plague. Yeah, but that just a facade he puts on. When you get to know him better, didn't you say you hated him? Amelia looked up and swallowed. Yeah, of course. I hated him. The only thing he is capable of doing is getting himself and everyone else around him into trouble. See, it's better if I just steer clear of you. I don't want any trouble. My comment didn't face it, Amelia. Do you think it's enough to just keep your distance? She inquired. Yeah, I shrugged, fully convinced. You have no idea who you're messing with. If he wants you, he'll have you. Astounded, I blinked several times. I could have burst out laughing or sat in shock at such a cruel statement, but I did neither. Instead, I shielded my eyes from the sun glare and looked forward in the opposite direction. For June. Thank you very much for watching this book, and chapter 4 is coming soon. Bye bye.